Let's turn your volume down on here. All right, here we go. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to Happily Married, Happily Single. Which one are you? I am Kemba White-Dupree, and this evening, again, of course, is my partner in crime, my brother, Dr. Brian Turner. You ready? Are you awake? I know we both took naps. So I'm a little sleepy today. Oh, good lord. So anyway, I want to get started with the fact that we have submitted a poll. We had, I think, about 75 people to respond. And did you get a chance to look that over?
Yeah, I'm woke. I'm just drugged up though. You heard me?
Say again.
I am woke. I'm just a little drugged up.
Oh, yeah, you got a little of sinuses issues this morning. I mean, this afternoon or this evening rather. Uh, so I want to get started with a video that talks about relationship communication killers, and then we'll go from there. All right. Stay. Add that to the screen. Turn your sound down.
Oh, I see what I did.
There you go.
I thought I turned that down. Okay, there we go.
All right, I'm gonna start with this video about some relationship killers. So here we go.
Mm, mm. You got me with too many media things going on, but let's go. Let's rock and roll. Now I get it.
We'll dance under the starlight, making. Is it loaded? Let's see if I can take this one down and then do it.
Well, while we're having our little technical
Yeah.
difficulty, the layout for this evening, we're going to start off with talking about communication and relationships. Then we're going to talk about how do we really communicate to our partners what our needs are. That was the purpose of our poll. So we had 75 respondents across the poll, which we want to let you all know. The poll was not necessarily scientific in the sense that we captured any real data outside of you all's responses. So we captured no one's personal data information. So you don't have to worry about us getting hacked or anybody taking your information and using it to try to buy a car. So, and then we're going to talk about at the end, we're going to talk about these responses because we seem to lack congruency in terms of what we want from our partners and what we're going to give to our partners. But there are some things that are very interesting where there's some very nice overlap. So let's see what's up. DJ, play your song.
Here we go. Let's see how this goes one more time. We'll dance under the starlight, making love by the sea. Stay by my side, and then I know I'll be alright. Yeah. I don't know what's happening. Well, anyway, I'm
Start
gonna
it over,
read
like get out of it and then go back to it.
and go back in. Okay, I'll take it
Right.
off. But anyway, as we were having conversations, a lot of our I think my screen is freezing on me though. We have been having a lot of conversations that have been swaying one way or the other in people's responses. However, all of the things that we've been speaking of have been very general, and I hope that people are starting to see um, the connections and or the generalities that apply just to everybody. It doesn't just apply to it doesn't apply to just men. It doesn't apply to just women. Everything with regard to relationships is not gendered. We've been programmed or we've been pitted against each other with the assumption that it is gender based, but everybody has the same ideas and communication needs and or um, the need for to be comfortable inside the relationship spaces that they're occupying. So I'm gonna try this video and see if we can get this up again, and hopefully we can get it to play. If not, then we'll just move on, and 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 we'll continue on with the conversation. Let's see if it'll
Yeah,
play.
I think it would be really good.
Yeah, it's only let me get so far, so I'll just play it at a yeah, as with technology, if it can't go wrong, it will, and that's fine. Anyhow,
It's all
communication
good.
killers. Communication killers. Let's talk about that.
So actually, Kimba, what we can do, because that video actually went right back to what I found and I responded to you with, was the gurus that I have studied under and have followed, Don Gottman, and what he calls the four horsemen of relationships. And so something to think about, right? When we're trying to communicate or when we're in a relationship, oftentimes we find ourselves struggling in terms of how we talk to each other. And so last week we talked about how do we, in essence, communicate to our partners our needs, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting background feedback still, huh?
Yeah, that's the Instagram thing. You might have to separate your two devices so it's not feeding into the other.
Well, I don't know why I want to do this on here. Y'all, just this real time right now. I hmm,
This is the at-home studio.
there we go. How about that?
Yeah, there we go.
Bam. All
Uh-huh.
right. So I don't think people on Instagram are gonna be able to hear me though.
No, they'll hear you. You just won't be able to hear the feedback from them, and you
Oh, that's
shouldn't. You
perfect.
don't need it.
Let's rock and roll.
All
So
right.
the four horsemen in terms of communication and what we were talking about last week was related to how do we begin to even think about how we have partnerships and how we have relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what is it that we think about when we are trying to be in a relationship? So Dr. Gottman and his team have identified four constructs that impact communication. And the four are criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this week's show is being brought to you by Powerade Orange Juice and a host of other drugs and concoctions so that I can
So
not
that you can
be,
sound and not sound like you're talking through your nose. Yeah.
exactly right, and
Yeah.
a whole bunch of vitamin C.
Yeah.
And so the first one, criticism, and this is important because criticism really falls into a space of the fact that we oftentimes will act in ways simply because um, we attack our partner, right? And actually, the article, we'll post the article afterwards because we don't want you to read while we're talking, right? So,
Right.
criticism says it's an attack on your partner at the core of their character and affects your dismantling their whole being when you criticize. So when you communicate with your partner, when you're trying to talk to your partner, criticism is not going to move you forward because what happens is you've now made a singular issue thing a personal thing. If you ask me why I forgot to pick up something from the grocery store, that's fine. But if you say to me, you know what, I hate that you can't ever remember anything and you don't ever think what I want is important, that negates or that creates a personal attack. It could easily be that I got everything else on the list, and this one thing I might have overlooked for a variety of reasons, or I might actually have a reason why I didn't get that thing. And so we don't want to criticize. If anything, what you want to do is you want to actually seek out within your partner why something may have occurred and what might be the reason that they did it or did not do it. All right. The second one is contempt. And the author says that contempt goes far beyond criticism. While criticism attacks your partner's character, contempt assumes a position of moral superiority over them. That's an interesting perspective because what that does is it now creates a hierarchy where your partner will feel as though they don't live up to your needs or meet expectations. That's very problematic in relationships because relationships are supposed to be egalitarian. It's supposed to be about equality.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to create a space where somehow, some way, it's unequal, then why are we together? If we can't have equality in our relationship, then we're gonna have some problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, all right. Next one. You got anything, Kimba? As I roll through this.
I'm gonna chime in after you finish going over them because you said
All
something
right,
specific about equality, and a lot of times things are not presented that way to everybody.
exactly. The third one is defensiveness. Defensiveness is when we all feel unjustly accused. We fish for excuses and play the innocent victim so that our partner will back off. Unfortunately, this strategy is almost never successful because our excuses just tell our partner that we don't take their concerns seriously and that we won't take responsibility for our mistakes. So defensiveness is that thing is it's okay to apologize. It's okay to say I'm sorry. It's okay to simply admit I was wrong. But defensiveness is, yeah, you're always mad at me. You're always attacking me. When in reality, let's just say, hey, I made a mistake and I apologize, right? And then the last one, stonewalling. And stonewalling sounds just like what it is. Rather than confronting the issues with your partner, people will stonewall. They will take evasive maneuvers. They will tune a person out. They'll turn away. They'll act like they're too busy. They may engage in behaviors that can distract or minimize their partner's concerns. So, stonewalling is the one that probably creates the most animosity within a relationship because it literally shuts out your partner. And unfortunately, why would you want to shut out your partner? It's your partner, right? So those are four issues or constructs that can affect communication, and it can create a situation where our authors would like you to say, so here's the response that you should get. Instead of criticism, you should have a gentle startup. You should actually talk to your partner about what's going on using I statements and expressing what your needs are. So that would be saying, hey, I really need for you to make this important to you because it's important to me. Contempt. The response or the proper way we want you to do this is appreciation. Our authors say build a culture of appreciation. Remind yourself of your partner's qualities. In essence, think about all of the good things that your partner actually provides. Think about the true and real reasons why you're with your partner and let that guide how you interact with them. Take responsibility. That's the response that we would have for defensiveness. If your partner brings something to you that they find as a problem, while you may have had no reasons or no thought that you had offended them, take responsibility for your actions and then help them figure out a way that you can actually not have any problems in the future. And then lastly, stonewalling. I often say you should self soothe. Take a break and spend time doing something psychologically soothing or distracting with your partner. Instead of shutting them out, find ways that the two of you can actually get together, make connections, and find ways to talk about whatever it is that's caused the problem so that you can communicate effectively going forward. There you go. Bam, bang, bing.
All right, I like it all. So, with regards to equality, I've had quite a few conversations, either online or in person, about who's supposed to get what treatment. And oftentimes, one gender or the other gender thinks that it should be them who gets the equitable or the fairness in their treatment, which is problematic. It's a lot problematic in that if we are partnering, then our needs are supposed to be met equitably, right? That doesn't always mean equally, but equitably. Also, reciprocity has to be present, and a lot of people only speak to or speak for the needs of theirs and not consider the needs of others. So that triggered a thought because in the last 2 days, when I was on air on yesterday, we took a caller who said something about my first wife, and she wasn't respectful to me, or she didn't treat me with respect. However, in him saying that, he felt like respect was one-sided, like you got to respect a man. But and my issue everybody has to be respected in the relationship in order to have love present. You know what I'm saying? A sustainable love, because when you lose respect or you feel disrespected, that causes you to distance yourself or back up. The other thing that rang in about that conversation is that not just was this gentleman programmed into thinking that his needs as a man should be met. He thought of his daughter in following suit should be trained to treat her husband with respect, but not necessarily a lot of focus in on her being respected. And that is troublesome to me as a parent, because as a partner, as a spouse, I expect for both of my children, my son and my daughter, to both be treated with respect and to feel like they have um, the space to be treated fairly and equitably, regardless of
Hmm.
them being male or female.
Well, I mean, that's right at the very point of why we think about these things as occurring early in life, right? That at some point in time, we don't want us ourselves to get put in positions where we don't know how to communicate, or we don't have the capacity to meet our needs. So something to think about, as we move to think about these qualities that we want. When do we start to even experience that we understand that these qualities are part of who we are, right? The reality is that this stuff is being given to us early in life, you
Yeah.
know. So what happens when we start thinking about our partnered relationships, and even if we just want to say our friendships, right? We
Uh-huh.
come to understand that this is stuff that we were beginning to be conditioned and socialized to as kids. Um, when I'm working with clients, especially couples, right? One of the things when I'm working with couples specifically, I ask them both to tell me about when it was that they felt that they had seen healthy romantic relationships, right? Healthy communication in adults. And unfortunately, in today's society, a lot of people tend to say that they don't remember seeing a lot of that, right? They can
Mm-hmm.
definitely talk about acrimony, they can talk about kind of inconsistency. But when we look at some of the things that our respondents had, we have to think about where would we have learned those things, right? So one of our responses was being a good listener. Well, if as a child you're being told that you ain't got nothing to say, then you don't learn how to be a good listener because all you do is listen, right? You don't understand that the other person like how to talk.
Uh-huh.
So then when you become an adult, you decide I ain't listening because I'm gonna just talk all the time. Because when I was a kid, everybody just talked to me. So I
Yeah.
mean, it's like an inverse relationship with listening. No, if your parents don't allow you to learn how to talk, then what happens is you don't know how to communicate what you really want and need. So your partner will hear because you feel like you have to be the dominant voice all the time.
Yeah. Oftentimes that is an issue, but then some people just aren't self-aware.
Yeah, because it starts as children. A lot of parents don't teach their children to be self-aware. They teach their children to grow up and be dominators.
Uh-huh.
Am I
Yeah.
lying? Think of
No.
and as we are specific, and it was said to me across the week. I really appreciate if we can create the buzz we want. Our differences, right, should be able to bring up some of these things and allow other people, I hope, to think about these things, right? So you being married, black, female, woman, parent, nurse, all the things you are, me being who I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I think about is the fact that when we say that, right, I can very much remember a lot of men teaching me not to let women talk.
That's a thing. Wait a minute.
Well,
Wait
well.
a minute.
Once again, it's not that I'm being told don't let women talk, but it's the things that they were saying. It's the actions, right? It's the conditioning.
Okay.
Now, no one would ever say that, but if the conditioning and socialization into relationships and how to interact with people, and then of course I say that, but think about it. That's also what I was being told to do to men. I was being
Right.
taught to
You have to be the
dominate,
dominant. Yeah. You have
right?
to dominate. Got it.
And then think about the same for black women. What do black little girls get told about how to grow up and be women? Don't let no man run you. You better take care of yourself. You better get what you
But we
right.
get a mixed messaging. So don't let no man run over you, but serve your man. That's a conflict of interest.
Yes, right.
So
So,
we get a
so
lot of different mixed messaging because we are prepared, or we are being prepared to head households, which in my opinion, I don't think that that's not the role that that's not the role I want to play of running the house, right? I want to help steer the house with my partner, but we are consistently
so
prepared. Like I've said before, moms raise their daughters and love their sons.
hmm
Black women are
so
pushed.
right. But that's the point, right? Is that so in essence, it creates the most natural response in us to do what? Be dominant. I'm not gonna let you play me, right? So yeah, if I can't find a partner, and I'm assuming as a woman, right? If I can't find a partner that makes me feel comfortable and takes care of me, I'm gonna dominate, right? And then
Which
as
does
a
not
man,
bode it well for us.
right? That's why we're here. Because well,
We're not doing
so
good.
yeah, so once again, if I'm a man and being told to dominate, and women are told, hey, you need to let him lead, but if you don't lead, you better dominate. How is that gonna work?
Right.
You know?
Right.
So now we've created this dynamic to where when we try to communicate, we ain't listening to each other. So that goes back to that point, right? How do we teach people to listen? We'll get to this more too, right? But the thing about, because we say good listener, but then we say communicate well, right? So one of the
Hmm.
things you think about is, well, what does that mean to communicate well, right? That's somebody who should be able to both listen and communicate. Everybody over the last 10 years, I think, have gotten big into the love languages, right?
Hmm.
And I've had people ask me, Brian, what's your love language is? I want to know your love language is. And I've done it, right? And I think it's funny because the love languages create an opportunity, yes, to ease the communication. But communication happens two simple ways: expression and reception. It's what you say and how you say it, and it's how you receive it and what you receive. And I
Hmm.
love the memes that get to this. Says, I'm not responsible for what you hear. I'm responsible for what I say.
Yeah.
Now, if I say something that you don't like or that offends you, it's now your job to say, hey, Kimba, you told me X, Y, and Z. Before I get upset, I'd like to talk to you about how I took that. Before I get hurt, before I feel disappointed, before I feel offended, can we talk about what you really meant so that I can truly understand what it is you're putting down? You should say then what?
So my conversation then should be like framing how that should look to me, or explaining to you like this is how I'm communicating and I'd like this to look that way when you communicate with me. But everybody's so on the defense and ready to switch to offense. We don't get that. So it's like everybody's walking around with their hands balled up, right? Because
Uh-huh.
they're waiting to be attacked, insulted, belittled, whatever, because based on your experiences, your relationship experiences, you've had that before, right? So when you
Mm-hmm.
have those experiences and they're negative, then your goal is not to experience that anymore or again.
Right.
So to keep, well, if I know that this has happened to me before, I'm going to walk around with my hands balled up so that I know, like I'm gonna protect myself from that.
Yeah. Yeah. So go back to what we talked about with defensiveness, right? If I bring to you as your partner something that I say you did that offended me, the first thing you should do is say what?
I'm sorry.
My apologies. That's not what I meant, right?
Hmm.
Because as soon as you apologize and say, hey, that's not what I meant, guess what I now have to do? I can put my dukes down because I know this ain't a fight,
But some people will
right?
argue with an apology,
Well, so now,
which is
okay, we're gonna
wild
get to
to
that
me.
point. We're gonna get to that part. But let's
It's like
just say
I'm
right now,
sorry. Yeah, but wait.
wait. Before we get to the fight, right? But let's just say that if we know that you've apologized, that now means that you can disarm me. right? You
Yeah.
disarm me. I'm
Uh-huh.
not in a space. I'm not in a space where I have to think that you're trying to fight me, or at least you can say, hey, my bad, I don't have any weapons, my apologies, I might have said that, but there was no real reason for you to feel that way. And then you can say, what, this is what I really meant.
Mm-hmm.
What I meant was I was hurt, or I was disappointed about what you did, and what I should have said was I felt this way and I would like you to help me fix it.
But what is happening
Right.
though? We get the double down.
Well, we not look, we training people to do better, right?
Okay.
So
I want to
so
call it out though. I want to call it out though
uh-huh.
so that people can be aware of like where is my where what stops me, because they're going, I know I can feel people going nodding their head going, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, and I'm doing this part. However,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
let me point this out, because if you're doing this part, this also will happen. So people need to be made
Right.
aware of that.
Right. So once again, right, if when we go to communicate, if when we go to talk, we're trying to have a conversation, our reality has to be grounded in what's really happening in the moment. All too often that's not what happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
All too often we're now trying to argue, we're trying to fight. But that's why I say what becomes important is how do we create the space. So like that example, right? Think about John Gottman gave us defensiveness, contempt, stonewalling, criticizing, right? If my partner comes to me and says, hey, Brian, I don't like this and you didn't do this, I say, hey, that hurts me when you talk to me that way, right? Can you tell me what it is you really want to need? And now, of course, what you're getting at, Kimba, is also somebody has to be the more mature partner in these moments, right? That's what we're going to talk about the second half, right? How do we actually communicate this stuff, right? So
Okay.
somebody has to be the mature partner. Somebody has to be the partner that says, hey, um, this is not working for us. This is not okay. And that's where it starts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where our struggle is. Answer me this: as a married woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you think about what happens in your communications with your husband, what's been easy to communicate?
Starting with this makes me feel like versus you always, being able to express when I'm hurt
Mm-hmm.
goes better. However, explaining when I'm hurt or if I'm hurt comes off as anger because I'm frustrated. And so
Hmm.
that has been a difficult thing to identify so that we can change the language.
Okay. So then, when you start off with telling them how you feel and what you need, it makes it easier for him to provide that, right?
Yes.
There it is. I ain't
Versus
got
the
nothing else to
attack.
say with that, boss.
Versus
Exactly.
the attack, right? But in your
Yeah.
frustration, and again, I'm talking about self-awareness. In your frustration, you're not thinking clearly when you are upset. So
Uh huh.
your first thing is to write yourself, right? And if it is to box out and write yourself by saying, um, you are doing XYZ, that may be your go-to because that's how you're feeling. I'm feeling this way because of something you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's okay, right? That's okay, but if you really want to communicate well, that's not going to be okay, right? So
No,
so
it's not.
remember what we said last week. You got to first know what you really want in a relationship. You got to first know what you really want. So I always ask the question: don't tell me you want a relationship. Tell me what kind of relationship you want.
Yeah.
Do you want a relationship where you just have your needs met and you dominate and it's all about you? Or do you want to be in a relationship where you have a partner? Remember, I said that, right? Potential versus presence versus partnership,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
If you just want the potential that, hey, this might look good and we might take some trips, that's why I joke about. I love the whole thought about taking trips and being on balconies, right? But if that's the only picturesque view you have of a relationship is traveling and being bent over on balconies, that don't really say much about how we get to the balcony.
Right.
Right? That don't really say much.
Right.
Because because you know what usually happen on some of them trips? Somebody get pushed over the rail and don't come back.
Yeah. Yeah. But okay, so before you set an expectation, the communication has to exist, right?
Uh-huh.
So, and when do you suggest that happen? Because oftentimes I had a conversation with a duo today, one male, one female, and they were speaking about how they started their first conversation, which was sex is off the table. And I was like, you
Uh-huh.
open with that? Is that your opener? I don't think that I was like, I don't know that I would lead with that.
Well, but think about it, right? That's how some people engage the process.
Uh-huh.
They start off with that because I have to create a boundary or barrier because of what my experience has been in the past,
Yeah.
right? And that's problematic because that only creates a position or a situation where what I
Communicate. Yeah.
don't want I and look, the communication shouldn't be sex is off the table. The communication should be, hey, in the past, I've had sex soon and it's not been good for me. So for me, I could say I'm a sexual being. I like sex, but I want to have sex with a partner that respects me, blah, blah, blah. And I like this point because this is what I think was the problem with Steve Harvey said when he made the comment. Men shouldn't ask women what they bring to the table, blah, 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 right? Well, my point is this everybody don't come to the table looking for a full meal.
Right. Some people
Some
looking for a
people come
snack.
looking dessert. They just might want to see what the tea look like. They might just want to know what's being served so that they can decide if this even where they want to eat at, right?
Right.
And some people just come in to see what's at the table because they got another table over here that got what they want. So they might just eat a little bit off your table for now and then go back to the other table and then come back later, right? And some people just want to see what the china look like.
Agreed. Agreed.
You know,
So
what's the glassware? You know,
yeah, yeah. I think though in the messaging and having that conversation again, I continued on with the conversation and I asked, I said, so do you want to be in a relationship? And they said yes. And I said, so how is this opening line working for you?
mm-hmm.
And they said, well, that causes people not to waste their time. I said, not only are they not wasting your time, they're not taking time to know you because you've already basically done this to them. And for somebody who may not have been seeking sex only, because I mean, at some point in most adult relationships, sex is going to come up. But
Uh-huh.
for the person who wasn't coming just for that, you've now turned them off.
Right.
So it's communication, but is the communication that's leading to the development of a relationship or a further conversation? No, because I mean I feel like you turn me off. Okay,
Right.
thank you for letting me know, and I'm gonna head out.
Exactly. Because at this point, there's nothing attractive about what you're offering, so I don't need to be here. All right, so look, let's dig into our data, right? Let's dig into the data. Um,
Yeah.
you know, and I like to do this kind of you know, not price, right? What is it with Steve Hall? What's the show he do? I don't forgot it now. Family Feud. Yeah. So let's
Okay.
do it like Family Feud style, right? So we asked the city of New Orleans and beyond,
And
what
beyond,
were
yeah.
their top five qualities you possess that make you a good partner, right?
Uh-huh.
So each individual was to select their top five, right? So
Yeah.
what we have is the top five that you all stated. Number one, with the most responses, 72%, people said they wanted a reliable, dependable, and consistent. I'm sorry, they said that they were reliable, dependable, and consistent as a partner. Right?
Yes.
That's number one. The second quality that people said made them a good partner was that they were family oriented, right? That's an
Hmm.
interesting one at 68% because that implies and assumes certain things about your partner that maybe y'all need to talk about. Maybe your partner don't want kids, right? So we'll talk about that. The second, I'm sorry, the third, and I love this one, which for me this might be number one.
Okay.
People said that their top quality that made them a good partner was their sex drive. They were driven to please their partner, they're open to the sexual needs of their partner, and they're willing to express their sexual needs. All right, let's see. Number four, communicates well at 53.3%. You all said that you all are good communicators. And the fifth quality that you all said makes you a good partner was solutions oriented. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, Kimber. Which one of those stand out to you? We can talk about some of the ones that were a little bit lower, but let's talk about that. What did
On
you have
just
any
the qualities that
surprises?
make people a good partner.
Yeah, just this one, just the first
So what stood out to me was the patience piece.
one.
And I don't know if people pay attention to how patience play falls into play in relationships, right? Because knowing that the person that you're relating to or relating with is not of your they weren't raised with you. They have different ideas and um different habits. So I feel as if patience would be something that would be in the top pieces of consideration for
Hmm.
yourself, because you're not dating yourself, you're not with yourself. So
You're
that
two
stuck out.
people trying to be in one relationship.
Yeah.
That requires patience. You got
Yeah.
to be patient to know what does this person like to eat on Mondays. I'm from New Orleans. That's pretty easy. Red
Right.
beans and rice. But sometimes I don't want red beans and rice. So if I come home and I say, hey, I'm fixing this today, or hey, can we eat this? You can't get mad at me for changing my mind. Be patient. Maybe I don't have that taste for red beans and rice, right? But yeah,
Mhm.
so I think that's interesting. What else? Any other shocks to you? Any other surprises?
um the shot came in the comparison of the two.
Uh-huh.
That's where my shot
Okay.
came.
Okay. So my shock was, as I already alluded to, the sex partner, right?
Uh-huh.
I like that it was in the top five. So kudos to everybody who endorsed that item. And here's why: you and your partner, when it comes to intimacy, sex, love, affection, closeness, that's the only thing that you and your partner will share that is not shared with others. So communicates well. That's a skill you can potentially practice with other people, right? Being family
Uh-huh.
oriented, that's something you practice with the people. Being reliable, dependable, consistent. We always hear about how people say, "Oh, I want to see how my potential partner treats the wait staff when we got to eat. I want to see how my partner treats their parents." Right? Even idea of being solutions oriented. If I see someone who can't figure out how to get out of a wet paper bag, that person ain't too solution oriented. They may not be too dependable, right?
Right.
But the one thing that to me, and I think this is why this is important for couples, if you and your partner can get on the same page about what you all want when it comes to intimacy, that's where I think people can actually see the true foundation of a relationship be grounded, right? Because that means you're willing to share your most vulnerable needs and wants, fantasies, desires, and fears sometimes with your partner. So that can help build in these other areas. I might be willing to let my partner lead me in such a way that I might become a more reliable, dependable, consistent person. I might become a more patient person. I might communicate better, right? But that's the only area where you and your partner per se will only share that together. So for me, I really want to give kudos to our audience and our participants for ranking that high. I want it to be higher for some other reasons. But I also like the fact that it includes things like being driven to please my partner. As a man and doing therapy, I hear a lot of couples struggle with situations where men don't want to please their partners, right?
Say
But I
more about
also hear but I also hear situations where women are not willing to be open about what they want, right? So men, conditioning, socialization. Sex is all about me. It's about what I want. I need to get my needs met, right? So I'm gonna get mine. I'm gonna handle mine, and that's all that matters. If I want to have porn star sex, or if I just want to have missionary, or if I want to try to, whatever it might be, it's about me, right? And so I really like the idea that we included that on purpose to say driven to please my partner. Here's a little tidbit with that: if I'm driven to please my partner, then my partner inherently might be driven to what? Please me, right? So for me, especially as a man, I want men out here to understand that when it comes to sex, we have to do a better job of really communicating to women what our needs are and what our wants are, but also listening to what their needs are and figuring out how to please women, and making sure that the women we love or care for, even we just hooking up with, that we really can meet their needs. So that's my thought. What you think?
So I told you once before, like with regard to sex, how we are taught about sex, particularly in the black church and the black community. We're not told to go out and find out what we like. That is actually the opposite of what we are told. We are told to hold on and be chaste. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
We are supposed to hang on to it until marriage. So therefore, the expectation of a husband or of a partner who has been told to go out and let it all hang out and find out and do all the things, then you're expecting me to know all of these things when I've not had that experience, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and the deprogramming that comes with it, because women are shamed for even owning or having a sexuality, and that is frustrating. It's very frustrating, even in the conversations that I have now when I talk to
So wait. So you're saying that's even true now with Wop Out Chill and with Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion? That's still the case? You
yes
think?
indeed, yes
Hmm.
indeed. uh Go to any of your black churches and Catholic churches and talk to the girls about how they feel about sex. There's always
Hmm.
a curiosity about sex. Let's be clear.
Uh huh.
Everybody is curious about it, because as your biology changes in your body, you want to know, what these things and parts do. However, when you're talking about actually participating in it,
Hmm.
it's only certain girls that do that.
Uh huh.
Those are the girls that are your practice girls, but then you still come to me and I don't know what to do because I've not had the sex.
We're gonna coin that phrase, "practice girls."
But this
Oh
is my
my god! Did she
issue.
say
Don't
practice
choke.
girls?
Don't choke. The
I'm not
practice
joking. I'm
girls.
trying to look. I was trying to be professional, but
Yeah,
that's
well,
not
I
gonna
mean,
do it
it is that. And so with the practice girls, this is my question. What father of their daughter wants their child, their daughter, their precious princess to be a practice girl? And if
I
you
mean, we
don't
could
want
go
your
to Lil
daughter to be
Boosie.
that practice girl, then who are they practicing on?
Because little boys be having sex and they're not having sex with each other. Well, that's another conversation. But when they're having sex with girls, they're not having sex with one girl, right? Look, what's funny is this. Some of what you're saying is also true of boys, right? Because
Yes.
unfortunately, boys get the message of somehow you're supposed to become this sexually viral and like just great lover, but you're not supposed to be having sex, right? Somehow you're supposed to know how to please that booty for that cutie, but you're not supposed to be having sex, right? So I say that because I think you also hit on something that once again, and this is a touchy topic for some people, but yes, when do we have conversations with our children, with young people about, and I say it this way, about relationships? See, I think if we start with having conversations about how relationships operate, then when it comes to sex, you've already laid the foundation for being one, like autonomous, right? But then you begin to lay the foundation for how people can communicate about what they feel, what they need, what they think, and what they may want, right?
Uh-huh.
So it's not a lost situation. It becomes a very simple situation where I feel comfortable telling you how I feel and what I need because I feel comfortable doing that.
But this is the thing though, right? A lot of parents are not comfortable having those conversations. I mean, we still have parents calling anatomical parts nicknames, pocketbook, coochie snorcher, your little pee pee.
Wait,
Yeah,
what?
people,
Did you
you
say
heard what
coochie? What is a
coochie
coochie
snorcher,
snatcher?
a vagina.
Okay, now man, I'll wait. I'll ask you after this where that came from. I mean, I know it's supposed to
We
reference
have
Kimba,
adults
but I ain't
calling
never heard that. Yeah.
Well, we have adults calling anatomical parts nicknames, and so we're not having
Hmm.
conversations so that we can have informed conversations with
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
So then, how do we have those? How do we address body autonomy when we still calling your vagina a pocketbook and your penis a
So
pee.
so this is where some people may not like this, right? This is why I can say on some levels I kind of get where the idea of like certain things in schools may not be appropriate.
Uh-huh.
I think parents should be the ones who teach their kids about these things. The problem is that obviously parents don't necessarily have the appropriate, proper, or accurate knowledge, skills to talk about it. So then who should do it, right? That's my conversation in that moment, right? I get it. Yes, for the parent who really cares, for those who really want to, they should have that conversation. But what happens when the parent doesn't know how? Like you said, yes, and I would be funny. I say pocketbook only because I don't want my daughter to say something in school and then get in trouble, right? But as she gets older, then we can have a conversation. Okay, so this is what it is, but you need to be sensitive in school because once again, schools give blowback to kids who may say things that's correct, but it's because they don't want to
And
handle it.
that is a problem. That is a problem that would be handled
Right.
at the school. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say why I say they still need to know the anatomical names of things. When you're talking about children being touched inappropriately and somebody keeps saying, oh, you touched my pocketbook, and they're going to an authority and not to you, then that gets brushed off. It's not handled. So we have to have conversations about naming the parts of what they
Mm-hmm.
are. These are breaths. You have a vagina
Yes.
or a penis. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying? We have to tell them those anatomical names, because giving them the language and arming them with the language to be able to express this is what is going on.
Uh huh.
Then the people, when we're absent and they're talking to other adults, the other adults can make the appropriate responses, or make
Uh huh.
the appropriate action.
Oh, I agree with you 1,000%, and that's why I said I said that that's why I started it because it was a part of just the linguistic thing, right? But as we get older, hey, baby, this is what this is. This is why we say this. But be mindful if you're at school, if you're somewhere else, if somebody gets upset with you, then tell them call your daddy, right? Tell them daddy come in and we'll deal with it, right? But my point is to make this the simple statement. That's why we have these issues because when we talk about things accurately and correctly, some people are uncomfortable. Some people can't. And now think about it. That's what happens. We teach our kids. So then when we get these adults, they can't handle the truth because they've been lied to for so long about what their role should be, what their partner should be, how they should talk about things. That's like, honestly, come on, man. Like, I hear adults say stuff like, I don't want to do it. What the hell is do it?
We still doing it.
What?
We still doing it.
When I could come over there, we could do it.
I know you lying.
What?
We're not saying that.
What you want to like? You need to change the carburetor on your car? Like, what do you mean? Like you need to change the oil or something? What are you talking about, right? So that's my point, though, right? Think about what we're talking about. We're talking about how do you talk about the quality of as a partner and how do you communicate. So our reality is what if we're not teaching our kids as kids how to communicate about themselves, about what they want, then when they become adults, they're not going to be able to do it. Whew. All right, let's talk. Come on, let's talk about the 5 things that people want for. And I don't know if anybody said anything in the chat, so because you got me, you got look. I do what I do well. I'm a psychologist. You got me on all of the tech stuff. I got Instagram up. I got StreamYard up. I got Facebook. I don't know where to respond to nobody, so you're gonna have to
You're
respond.
fine. You're
All right.
fine. So we have a couple of people. So when we talked about like, are other people still having problems with communicating about sex, or that are we still villainizing girls for having sex or even wanting to have sex and be interested in sex? We've had two people, Asia and Anthony's, both saying that yes, that still happens now. Girls are shamed still for the typical insults, bitch, hoe, slut, that kind of thing. Hoochie,
Yeah.
thought, all of those
Wow.
different things. Yeah, it's still getting there. When on average women have less sex, uh, or less sexual partners than men do. So I mean, in my opinion, who the hoe is not being you.
Yeah.
So like, be mindful of you
Well,
throwing.
why we gotta be hoes? Why we gotta
Well,
be hoes though?
that's the thing. We get labeled with that, and if that is what you're gonna call me, I ain't gonna argue with you about what you call me because it's what I answer to. However, if that applies to me, how does that apply to you?
Well, yeah, because it's never a one way street unless you're in New Orleans and you're drunk and you're trying to get home, right? Because then you got to follow those rules. But here's what's crazy, right? Um, if I think about it, like as a guy, right?
Uh-huh.
As a man, as a little boy, when I first jumped off the porch, right?
Uh-huh.
I didn't know that I was supposed to be looking for a good girl. Nobody said get a good girl. Nobody said that I needed a practice girl, right? So like it's not until I get into these spaces where now we're trying to talk about these things and like, oh, wait a minute. But then I think about it, and my brothers was some demons for real, right? My oldest brother, Kevin Murray, bless his soul, he said, Brian, let me tell you something, bro. And I can use all my Kevin Murray euphemisms because he's no longer on this in his physical presence on earth. So can't nobody punish him or do him nothing, right? But he
Uh-huh.
was like, B, he was like, when you meet a woman, right? What you trying to do? You trying to get sex, right? You trying to smash. Why would you be mad at a woman for pleasing you in all the ways you want her to please you? Like, like if you running at her and you trying to get her and you want to be with her and she do all the nasty, freaky ass shit you want, how you be mad at her? Because they got dudes who will spend buku money, buku time, buku energy, and they won't get nothing.
Right.
So if you lucky enough in your little small brain ass mind to be able to find a woman to do all of the freaking ass that you want, you may need to actually show her some respect,
Right. But
right?
that is not what is I've had conversations with both men and women that after they get or participate in all the nasty, wild, and I don't even consider things nasty. It just may not be something I order, but I mean, if that's what you like, I don't want to label something. I don't want to label something as nasty. That just may not be my thing. But after you've done all the things and enjoyed it, I've heard, where did she learn that from, or where did he, who has he been practicing on, and not just attributed to that this is an exchange that we're
Ooh.
both participating
Future show
in.
dealing with dealing with the ghost and baggage from the past, right? So that's why it's interesting when people talk about the qualities on a partner, and that's why I like the fact because to T, unfortunately, guess what happened with that sex partner in terms of their partner? That one went from being number 3 to number 4, right? So look at here. Um, for those qualities that our respondents said they wanted from a partner. The number one response was they wanted their partner to communicate well. Great job. I like that. The second one, which is interesting, financially stable. Now, this is why I said we have some issues. You some of my guns who responded, y'all don't want to be financially stable, but you want your partner to be financially stable. We'll revisit that later, right?
Uh-huh.
The third one, reliable, dependable, consistent, right? Number 4 was good sex partner. And the fifth one was family oriented, right? So I want to start. What you think? What you got?
Um, go in your order of importance, because my issue or my concern was where, like when we started comparing those things, like you said about communication high but desire financial stability. Like, what's
Uh
your
huh.
what's your role? What's your contribution there, or like where's the equity there, or the equitable place there? So you want it? Let's go.
No, I want to hear what you got to say.
I mean, so looking at the data, and I
You
want
the
to
married one.
understand, huh? And
You the married one.
I am the married one, but like all of the conversations, or a lot of the conversations, happened before we got married, right? So
Mm.
communicates well. We didn't do that in the beginning when we first got married. If I got mad or we had an argument, we would be in a one-bedroom apartment, and I would only say good morning and good evening. That's it. Good
Mm.
morning, good evening. I don't want to talk about nothing else because I'm still upset
Mm.
about what it is
Mm.
what we argued about. So communication was not top on my list. It's
You
high on,
stonewalling. You was stonewalling.
and I still do it now. I still have places where I do it now where I have to stop talking, because if I keep talking, I'm going to say the worst things. Because I want you to get off of me so I can stabilize myself.
Okay. Okay.
So
But can't you say that though? Can't you say, "Hey, babe, look, right now I'm trying to figure out how I feel, so don't take this the wrong way. Let me just work on this, and I will talk about this." Can you not say that?
I learned to say that then, but now it's
Okay.
understood because it's
Okay.
practice, right? But
Right. There you go.
in
There you
this
go.
moment, all I'm thinking about is getting, I want to flee. I need to get away
Hmm.
because I love you. I don't want to say the worst things to you.
Hmm.
But if you don't give me the space to get away from you, I am going to.
Well, but Kimba, so what's important, and once again, think about it, we're talking about the partners, the qualities want a partner. So you want your partner to be able to understand that. That's why it's
Yes,
important for you to communicate. Hey, this
yes.
is not about you. This is about me. I need to take a step back. I need you to let me breathe, let me process this, and I'm coming back to you. Because
But
here's
what
the
about the
a
people who
fallout.
keep, even after I communicate this, I say this to you because I've seen this happen with other people. I say this, I need a break. I say I need a pause. And they heard you, but they're still coming towards you because communication, me saying this to you or speaking this to you, cannot end with you hearing me and still going beyond what I'm saying to not do.
So that's why I remember what we said about those conditioning effects as children, right? So that's why it's also important to understand, because here's the thing. You may have to say that to your partner time, and you made a very good point. You snuck this little jewel in there, this little nugget. It took some time for it to be understood, right? So once
Mm-hmm.
again, happily married, happily single. Happily married mean y'all have been through some things and y'all have been able to smooth out the rough edges and straighten out the curves. I'm happily single because I'm willing to say those things because I don't want to be unhappily married. I'm willing to say those things now, and I look for a partner who will listen to that and hear that. Will also say that back to me, right?
Right.
Like you can't call me and be like rah 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 rah. I'm like, okay, hey, look, you have a good day. Talk to you never. You can't do that to me. If you want to have a conversation, you can call and say, hey, babe, look, I want to talk to you about something. Can we set aside time? Can we communicate? And we can have that. But you can't call me and draw down on me, because if you draw down on me, I'm going to pull out too. Now we just shooting at each other.
Right.
So that's the beauty of what you said, Kim. But see, look how I drew that out of you, right? That's the beauty of you and your married, happily married existence, to be able to say to people, you got to be willing to have those experiences early on. It's better to have them before you get married, but you have
Yes.
those experiences, you talk about them, you engage, so that when the hard time comes, your partner knows that you're not just fucking over.
Yes. And because this is another thing, right? So going back to the results of what was said that was important, right? This good sex partner situation, I'm gonna go back to that because what one partner thinks they're doing well may not be being received well. Well, so what you think you're doing, you're not doing. And a lot of people are afraid to have those conversations. But I said before, um some sisters be lying to y'all. I ain't gonna. I'm not. I'm a, according to the group chat. Some sisters be lying to y'all, and then you get to the next woman, and they're going, "Well, who said this was okay? This is awful."
So that's why you have to have the post game press conference. We're here. We're here with Kemba
Nobody at this
White-Dupree.
point, because at this big age, they're like, "I know what to do. I know what I'm doing." Nobody
No, you
wants to
don't. No,
do
you
that.
don't. You do not know. You do not know what to do with me. You do not know what to do with me. So if you're gonna come to the game, bring your A game. But we may have to have that post coitus conference, right? But we may have to have that conversation. So hey, in the first quarter, you were really going hard on such and such, such and such. It seemed as though you were really intent. But did you notice that you weren't scoring? Did you
Yo,
notice you weren't getting the ball down the field, sir? Can
yo,
you please? you may need to have
yo,
that conference. You may have to have that, right? I love that meme of LeBron grabbing his man person walking out, because that means sometimes I say, you know what? I need to go to the gym. Let me go to the gym because I need to go get right. But that comes back to the foundational aspects of what you were saying earlier about how, yes, young men and young women, we aren't even teaching proper like vernacular and terms in regards to how we talk about things. So then as children get older and become adults, we don't even want to sit down and have a real conversation about, hey, when you were doing X, Y, and Z, that really wasn't okay. And once again, remember what I said, that sex part is that if you and your partner can have that conversation, you can probably have every other conversation we're talking about, right? So I should be able to say to my partner, hey, I really liked your effort tonight. You really brought your A effort. but unfortunately, you didn't really come, with your game plan together. You're all over the place. You didn't seem to have a strategy. The game is over, but we need to talk about what we're going to do in practice, right? You may have to go to the film. You may have
Uh-huh.
to pull out some film, and you may have to say, "Hey, look right here. See right there. It's obvious you didn't know what you was doing. You was just trying anything. So if you're just trying anything, how do you think I experienced that?
Yo, again, according to the group chat,
Oh, highlight that
it's
comment. Highlight that comment.
okay, yeah, but I'm saying according to the group chat, it's a debrief
Uh-huh.
going on where we're all laughing at you. But okay, but as
It's
women, we have to be able to take feedback in the sex department from our partner as well. Yes, but a lot of people think, like I said, at this big age, you have been having sex for X amount of years, right? And
uh-huh.
so you have the idea that you are doing well. However, um according to the survey and according to conversations, like I'm in a lot of male and female spaces. Again, the group chat saying, it
And
was
Chad
not
said,
great.
Chad said it too. Coach said the tape don't lie. So think about this, right? This is why I be saying as men and women, especially black women, we are really not that far off from having healthy relationships. Men go to the women and they'll say, "Hey, I'm doing such and such. What you think of that?" And then sis will say, "Well, Brian, I don't know why she not giving you the feedback or the response you want." And then I'll get it. She might be dealing with somebody else, and she's trying to figure out which one of y'all she really want to be serious with, right? So then, as been said to me, you got to decide: are you playing in this game and you trying to be the victor, or do you don't want to play on the same court? Is it tennis or are you playing golf, right? So my thing is, I got to make that decision. And then obviously for women, women are having the same conversation. So reality being, when we talk about what we want in a partner, it really should be fairly similar to what we talk about we're giving from ourselves.
Correct. But if you are looking at the survey, and I want to post those results so that everybody can have a chance to see it. According to the survey and according to the results, those things are not lining up at all.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
not lining up. So if we're looking at the what your partner what do you possess and what do your partner possess, what do you look for in a partner? 29
uh-huh.
people said they are patient, but 32 people said they're looking for patience.
Right.
That's upside
which
down.
is which isn't, well, that's not bad because that's about similar, right? 32-29. That's not too bad. But what you think about is, what does that mean being patient? Because see, I might think I'm patient because my partner is patient, right? So the results, when we post them, we want y'all to really think about this in terms of, when you talk about what you want in a partner, how do you mirror, how do you connect with the things you are given as a partner, right? So like I said, financially stable, I think that's a very interesting one. A lot of people reported that they're not necessarily, not a lot of people, but now that is odd, right? So you got 41% saying that
They
that's not a
are
big one that they're
financially
given,
stable.
but 48 people, 64% said that they want their partner to be financially stable.
Yeah.
Now, once again, some of that could be skewed based upon society and stuff like that. But what that means is that should be similar. We want that to be similar. So if my financial means is important, I need to come to the table, a la Steve Harvey, with the same ability to be a financially stable partner, right? I should not be simply dependent upon my partner to provide all of the financial means. But that also means that could be something you could communicate about. What does that look like? How does that happen? Um, I thought about the other one, like solutions oriented. I'm big on me and my partner being able to figure stuff out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once again, if we think about it, how well are you and your partner able to meet that thing? Which actually solution oriented, um, that was a difference of 48 to 40%, which isn't really all that bad. But once again, we want people to just think about these things. Once again, this is not a scientific poll in terms of we've done any direct research,
No.
in terms of being able to look at the theory behind it. These are all qualities that I pulled from some surveys that I've used with working with couples. So the scientific part is that I pulled this from surveys and the work I do with couples in
And
terms of
things that I
identifying
said
qualities.
work with us.
Right.
Things
And
that
and
work
so
in,
so the
in our relationship.
Yeah, so what we want people to do is, when you look at the results, think about how you assess and evaluate yourself as a partner, and then how you're assessing and evaluate your partner. And where do you all match? Research actually shows that the whole concept of opposites being attracting, that's only good in the most passionate of moments, right?
Right.
That's
Yes.
that's that's the
Yes.
passion, right?
Yes.
And look, here's that once again,
Because
because we
that
got to
burns
be grown
off.
about this. Well, here's the reality, right? If I'm just in town for a weekend, I'm looking for that opposite to attract,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if I'm looking for a long term partner, research says that we actually want to have between 70 to 80% overlap, i.e., similar interests as our partner. That way, the life we live is more enjoyable. If I'm a morning person and my partner's a night person, we may not have a lot of overlap. But if that's the one small area where we might be different, we might be able to work through that. But if I want to get up on vacation and be out the door at 7 o'clock so we can do excursions all day, and my partner just wants to lounge around, be at the pool, be at the hot tub with some drinks, we're not on the same page, right?
Correct.
So yeah, yeah. What you think?
So I will definitely got to touch upon this because there's a big, well, it was a large disparity, and it's a big hot topic for me. When we look at reliable, dependable, consistent people who
Uh huh.
said that they are that compared to what they were looking for, it was 54 people who
Mm-hmm.
said that they are that, but then 47 people said that they are looking for that. For me, if you say something, I
Yeah.
expect it to be done, right? And if you ask me to do something, in most cases, unless I am like shanghaied or something happens with the kids, I'm gonna show up, right?
Uh huh.
For
Uh
me,
huh.
that is an expression that you care about me. The follow through is important, um,
Yeah.
and it's a place of safety for me. So I don't. I people who said they are that versus people who said they're looking for that. I was just like that was really upside down for me.
Yeah, yeah. And look, that's one of those ones where we want to think about and what we want to offer to everybody listening and those who see it. We got to think about what that means, right? Because some people might have actually said that they were reliable, dependable, and consistent. They may not be.
Correct.
They may report themselves to be that way. So
Yeah.
then I just have to say you want to take a look at that because that is a great quality to say. But the question would be, what does your past partners, and here's the kicker, what do your friends say about that, right? So here's the homework, right? I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go to Dr. Turner mode before I do some hood head doc shit, right? First thing, when you look at your qualities, as past partners, if you still have connections with them, how do you rank on what you said were your best qualities on here, right? And you can actually ask friends too. Your friends tend to know you a little bit better sometimes than you think about how you are in a relationship, right? When I think about my friends and the people I know, I can tell them beyond a shadow of a doubt when they've been a great partner in relationships and when they've been a shitty partner in a relationship, right?
Hmm.
And then vice versa, ask those same friends about the partners you've had. Ask those friends, hey, did this person really meet my need? Or was I just in it for the games and the bullshit? Was I in it for the tomfoolery, right? Was I in it for the passion? Because then you can start to really truly compare, was I really looking for a relationship or was I looking for a good time? And that's the reality about one of these things that I want to end on. Now, my hood head doc shit is simple. We got to be honest as adults. If you're just looking for a good time, you need to be able to say that. You need to be able to say, look, I'm cool. I'm just looking to kick it, right? But if things change and if things begin to take a difference, you gotta say, hey, look, I thought I just wanted to kick it with you, but you cool, you kind of cool, and I really like you. How can we? Is it possible? And if it's not, then you gotta be able to say, okay, well, look, I think I want more with you, and so I'm not gonna be able to just kick it with you anymore. So you gotta be able to say that because I might still be under the impression that we okay in this space. But if that changes and you don't, if you don't articulate that to me, I didn't know things changed. I didn't know it switched.
So to add on to what you're saying about the honesty, a lot of people are not honest in their own reflection, and
Hmm.
they're not
Come
self-aware.
on,
They continue
come on.
on to perpetuate a vision that they have made up in their minds versus what they actually do, which is a
Uh huh.
big, big problem, right? Some people perceive me as being calm when there's a raging storm inside of me, like at any given point of the day, right? But I know that about me, and I'm honest about that. And then people are like surprised. Oh, really? But the people who really know me knows, like, there is a
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
tornado like looming. I'm just trying to do my best to control my behaviors and my actions. But we have a lot of people who do not own with where they are hyper aggressive or are afraid of being hurt. And because they're afraid of being hurt, they shoot themselves in the foot, or they go overboard in their conversations with their potential partners, not even knowing they're shooting a plane down before they get off the runway.
Right, 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 right. Hey, look, that's real. Let me say, I'm gonna respond to Tanisha's question. She said, "How does that look in interpretation, reliable, dependent, consistency?" I think about myself as a vehicle, right? Whenever you put your key in your vehicle, it should do what?
Start.
Start, right? I should be a reliable, consistent, and dependable vehicle. Whenever you put the key in, I should start. The time where you put the key in and I don't start, you now gotta wonder what's going on. If you got gas in the car, if the engine is fine, you've had your oil changes, you've done everything you're supposed to do. If when you turn that key, it don't start, now you gotta wonder, okay, well, is something wrong with this car or is there something wrong with my key?
Yeah.
So for me in a relationship, being reliable, dependable, consistent is about every time I'm asked or something happens, I should be able to do it. Now the kicker about that is a real simple thing. If I'm unable to do it, I should tell you when you ask, when you request, when you make known to me, hey, look, you asked me to pick up such and such. I may not be able to do that today because I have X, Y, and Z going on. Is it okay if I pick it up later? Can it be picked up tomorrow? Or can I get it earlier? Right? But the ideal is that reliable, consistent, and dependable means that you shouldn't have to wonder if I'm going to work it out, if I'm going to do it, if it's going to happen. So for me, I want to be reliable, dependable, and consistent. If you call me and ask me to do something, if you expect, if the trash goes out on Tuesday, if that's my job, I should put it out every Tuesday. But if it doesn't go out on Tuesday, you say, well, babe, why the trash go? I can say, well, babe, look, I went to the trash. We ain't have but a small bag in it. I wasn't gonna put that out there, so we could wait till next week. There should be a response to that, right?
Yeah. Let's see. Anthony says, I was talking about how various people are saying those three things, but they don't understand what that means. So you have the ability to communicate what that means, right? Because what consistent, reliable for me, like if we talk on a daily basis, I'm expecting to talk to you at some point during that day, right? But not necessarily the same time every day, but that may look different for somebody else. Consistency may be we wake up, we talk by 7 o'clock in the morning,
Uh-huh.
and that's going to continue be the continued conversations. But you have to frame what it is for reliability and consistency.
Yeah.
If you say you can't, if you say you're going to do something, I'm expecting you to show up. That's one. And if you can't show up, to say that too. Because not only am I not having, if you don't say anything about it, I don't have what I asked for, and I don't have the ability to go and get it too. Because
Right.
I'm
Right.
not, if it's something that I've asked for, it's something that I'm requesting that I need. So if you're not able to do it, that doesn't mean it won't get done. I can go get it done in another way.
And it doesn't mean if you can't do it, I'll be upset with you. What it really
Right.
means is that is that if I ask you and you give me the understanding that you can't do it, now you necessarily will understand I'm going to get that need met. And of course,
Hmm.
once again, if we're partners, if we're in a relationship, when I say, hey, babe, I need you to do X, Y, and Z, so look, I can't do that today. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and take care of it, right? Or I can say, well, babe, that's fine if you don't do it today. Just do it when you can, right? In essence, we're communicating, right?
Yeah.
Malika made a comment about relationship
Yeah.
PTSD.
I wanted you to get
Um,
to that. I wanted you to get that.
so I agree. I think there's clearly but I don't want to say PTSD because then that shifts sometimes the notion of what
But
real PTSD is.
you're thinking clinically, but can there be like a
I
gun
I
shyness that can
I, I,
happen?
that's why I say let me switch back out of
Yeah.
the Dr. Turner shit. Let
Yeah.
me go to hood at that, right? So yes, we all carry that that reaction, right? From past relationships. So what I like to say is this. I can't be mad at the next partner for what the last partner did or did not do, right? But what I can do is say, hey, um, okay, let me be discretionary. Someone told me one time that they got upset with me because I raised my voice, right? And I was
Uh-huh.
like, but we were talking and having fun. And the comment back to me was, but yeah, but I don't like when you raise your voice. I said, but we were like joking, we were clowning. I said, you were raising your voice. And it was said, but when you raise your voice is deeper, it's booming. I said, cool. I said, well, let's do this then. I said, at least tell me when those things happen so I could know. I said, because if something happens and you don't tell me what happened, I don't know. So what I would say about like relationship PTSD is that's where you have to be willing to tell someone, hey, um, okay, now I'm gonna be real funny. Hey, when you grab me by my throat during sex, I don't like that because I've been choked in the past, right? Because here's the thing, I might like choking a motherfucker.
Uh-huh.
But if you don't want to be choked, then you need to tell me, hey, your choking ain't gonna work,
Right.
right?
And
So
that
if I
that
could use
again circles us back to the it brings us back to the communication piece, but back to the pair that I had that I interacted with and had a conversation with it today. The gentleman has a loud booming voice, right?
uh huh, uh
And
huh.
he patted on the table, which made a big noise, and the woman that we
She
were with
she
was
jumped.
like, she didn't
Uh,
jump, but she was like, I don't
uh,
like that.
yeah,
And
uh,
in her saying that she doesn't like that, I knew that the guy who we were with, he meant nothing by it. He was playing. That was him playing,
yeah,
right? But this was their first interaction with each other, and something from her past triggered or was triggered because that may have been something that may
uh
have
huh,
reminded her of a negative experience. So again, like in that particular place, in that particular they were able to have that conversation, um because I understood both ways. I understood both sides of it, but you very rarely have somebody mediating in the
uh huh.
beginning of the conversations, which is why again, I am everybody's wingman. It's me.
So look, that's what's dope, right? That's what's dope about the communication piece. I like the understanding, and I'm not against saying relationship PTSD. I'm just saying I didn't want to try to create this thing of like, that. And here's my other thing: my sensitivity, the work I've done with survivors of sexual assault, violence against women, and violence in relationship. I want to be clear about how we talk about things because once again, we said this earlier. We want to use the correct terms, right? So let's not think about relationship PTSD as like someone who may have necessarily been abused or as a survivor of abuse. But I get it. The idea is that there may have been things that happened in past relationships that can automatically trigger you to think, oh, he or she is just like this person. That's not necessarily true. That's the point I was trying to make, right? We have to be honest that if you have something you're bringing to a relationship, you owe it to your next partner or whoever or however you're dealing with them to say, hey, I don't like. Actually, here's another one, right? The idea of, as you talked about, communication. So I don't really care about how fast you text me back. It really don't bother me, right? But if you need me to text you back in a certain time frame, or if you like kind of more instantaneous communication, you got to say that. Because see, Kimba called me earlier. I was in my bed and I was like, I know what we doing tonight. When I get up, I'll call her. Kimba wasn't mad at me. Like, yo, where you at? I called you. It's like, okay, you good, bro? Yeah, I'm good. I'm getting up now. All right, well, we rolling. But some people need that because to them, it's important to have that instantaneous communication. And that's
Uh-huh.
fine. But if you don't tell your partner, hey, if you do this, this is what I think about it. If you do this is what I think this means, then they can't address it. And so I agree with the idea of like what people carry from past relationships can be triggering in a negative way and can create a visceral response that can be problematic. So, yes, we got to think about that. Whichever you're carrying from past relationships, don't hide it. Don't hide it from your next partner. Don't tuck it away and be like, I'm gonna let them figure out what they did and why they did it. You gotta say, hey, look, man, I don't need you to be calling me 3 million times. Matter of fact, that's one of the things I say all the time. Between everything I try to do, and I be denying that I'm busy. I know I'm busy, but I like to think that I make time for what's important. But if you be hounding me and harassing me, I might start ignoring you.
But the flip side of that is once you set the parameters of, hey, because for
Mm-hmm.
me, if I text you, because this is just in general, right? I'm giving you a window of at least 2 hours because life, we doing stuff, right? But
Uh
in
huh.
2 hours, within 2 hours, I don't hear anything of you. One, I'm starting to get worried. And two, are you okay at this point? Because not whatever it was that I needed to get done, I probably gotten done by now. However, are you okay? Because you've not responded to me. And for
Uh
people
huh.
who are not consistent about that, they make me feel unsafe. That's
Right.
in all
And
of
that's
my.
woo, say that. That's deep right there. That is deep to be able to say that makes you feel unsafe because that's the need, right? That's the thing that you need. I like that because I'm much the same. My thing is we can communicate, right? But and I do this with my mom. I'll even say my mom will sometimes tell me, "Be careful." I say, "Well, mom, I'm not a little boy in the streets no more, right?" But I still text my mom, "Hey, mom, I made it home," right? Because I know that at least for her, that communication point allows her to go to sleep and not be concerned, and that's what we want to do, right? Happily married, happily single. Which one are you? You dig? What's happening with it, baby?
I think this is a good place to put a pin in it because otherwise we're gonna be here all night because it's gonna segue to another thing, to another thing, and to another thing. I'd like to thank everybody who has joined us for this particular conversation. This is episode 2, and look at our audience has not just doubled; it's tripled. We have people following us and listening to us via Facebook, some via Instagram, and even some on YouTube and Twitter. How about that? The
For
audience
sure,
is
for sure.
definitely growing, and I appreciate that. I'll talk a little bit about this tomorrow on the show, but we'll definitely be back here next Thursday at 7 p.m. It looks like we're gonna need to add some time to this back end of it because especially if I hear sponsors, we're gonna have to figure out a way to get the conversation in and fill in those commercials. That's what we
Oh,
do.
it's all good. It's all love. So look, man, I just want to thank everybody once again. We are in a very chill mode. We are building this, but like right now, I'm glad we weren't in the same place because of my little coughing and stuff. I don't want to get anybody sick. But yes, we want to build and grow. The whole point of this, as we said, we're taking some opposites and showing where we actually are on the same page. So unhappily married. I'm sorry, happily
Did
married,
you say
happily single.
unhappily
I look,
married?
no. I was thinking about something else. I'm get to it. Let me get to it. The whole point is happily married, happily single. Which one are you? Because we don't want people to be unhappily married or unhappily single. You feel
Yes.
me?
So you got your homework for tonight. As a reminder, go and do you have relationships with your exes? Have conversations about what went well and what you did well, and then have a conversation about what didn't go so well or what needed some improvement because you won't be carrying that part into your next interaction. You can fix and address that with yourself. That is quite important. So thank you all for
And look,
joining
wait.
us.
If you don't have access to your exes, just ask your friends who knew those exes. All right. Don't go and be calling nobody that you don't need to be calling. Just ask your friends who was around
I'm
with
friends
those
with all
exes.
my exes.
Yeah. Well, all my exes live in Texas, so and they drive Lexuses. So
Yeah, I'm still friends with all my exes because at the end of the day, like again, this is what I didn't like. This is what I couldn't deal with. So therefore, we can't be together, but we can still be friends. And I think that is healthy to have those conversations because yeah, no, you and I will never do this again. This is done.
that
However,
is so
don't carry this
mature.
mess, huh?
That is so mature. I'm so
Is
proud
it?
of you and
I
those
mean, I
individuals.
don't. I
Yes.
think that people get together. I think people get together because there are good qualities in people that we see, but when they do things that we don't like, and they do it consistency and that let us know that that's not something like they're not respecting how we feel about it. That's when it's like, okay, I'm gonna head out. However,
All right.
that doesn't mean
Hey, you
I
said
mean
it's time to go. But look,
you're just not a good person
dang.
for me.
So you just said something too, right? Because Denise brought up the reliable, consistent, and dependable thing. Sometimes, as Kimber just alluded, people be reliable, consistent, and dependably bad.
Yes,
All
yes.
right, come on, man. Wrap us up. Wrap us up.
Yes. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for Happily Married, Happily Single. Which one are you? Episode 2. We will be back on next Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you have any questions, you can email them to I can never remember the doggone acronym, but it's grateful with more work to do. I'll put that in the chat. Or you can DM myself or Dr. Turner on Instagram. Grateful with more work to do is the IG page, and NOJAG is where NOJAG 504. Is that it? Did I say that right?
Yeah, New Orleans Jaguar 504. That's the
Yeah,
page. Yeah.
to send your questions and we can have those addressed. We'll put another poll out for you all to vote in on again and weigh in on again, and that's going to drive our conversation for next week. But thank you so much again for joining us. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend about the conversations that we're having, because we want to be with each other. Just got to figure out how we're going to get together with each other and how we can get that language across. So again, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you all next week on at 7 p.m. right here on the Facebook page, or on Instagram, or on YouTube or Twitter. And grateful with more work to
Or
do.
threads, or
Yeah, you know,
still, or
there.
whatever. We're
Listen,
gonna
we're
be
gonna be
everywhere. Just
everywhere.
look for us. We're gonna be there. We're gonna be there.
Yeah, and I'm
If you
putting
there, we
the
there.
email in the chat for you all who want to send questions. So have a good night, everybody, and we'll see you all next week. All right, folks, we are out of here. Go back and run it back and watch it and share with people, because we had a lot to say tonight. We covered a lot. So you have a good one. See y'all later. Good night. All right.